Hello friends, in today's video we are going to discuss about the trade and commerce. So let's get started. What do you mean by trade and commerce? So let's see the definition. Trade is referred to as the basic economic activity that involves buying and selling of different goods and services between two or more parties involved in the transaction. It means that the activities that are involved in exchanging of goods and services between areas between two parties. So it is known as trade. Whereas commerce involves all the activities that help in promoting the exchange of goods and services from the manufacturer to the last customers. It means that we are talking about that whatever goods we have just produced, how it will going to be distributed from the manufacturer to the last customer will come under the heading of commerce. And the activities that are involved which are helping in the exchange of goods and services are banking, transportation, advertising, warehousing, insurance, etc. So we can say that the main purpose of the trade is just to satisfy the social perspective of the seller and the buyer, whereas the main purpose of the commerce is to look for generation of revenue. Next, how do we benefit from trade? So the answer is simple. If we will going to utilize more and more domestic resources, we can able to produce more items, and then we can able to, with the help of this trade, we can able to export these items to other countries. And when we just export these items to the other countries, it will going to help increase in the employment rate, as foreign trade encourage economic activities. Keep this thing in your mind that trade are of two types: internal trade, trade within a country, and foreign trade, trade with other countries. So that's why I told you that foreign trade just stimulates economic activities, and this will going to help in creating more and more employment. Next, foreign exchange, the income through which we basically going to earn by giving our export item to other countries and taking their currency. So the foreign exchange earned through trade can be spent on the import of capital goods for industrialization. We can able to buy these through with the help of the money, with the help of the foreign exchange. We can able to buy these capital goods, then utilize them in our industries and make our final product. And then ultimately we are going to export those items to other countries through which we can earn more and more foreign exchange. Next, through foreign trade, a country can increase its national income. It means that we can able to increase our GDP rate, we can increase our GNP rate, and we can also able to increase our NNP rate. Specialization of goods and services. Trade allows for specialization of goods and services. For example, Japan is famous for electronics, and Pakistan cannot able to produce electronics which is good as Japan. So what we can do, we can import. Similarly, if we talk about Pakistan, Pakistan is famous for cotton products. So other countries, what will they do? They prefer to buy cotton products from Pakistan, which will definitely going to increase our export. So this is known as a specialization of goods and services, which we can take benefit. Okay, next. Utilization of domestic resources for export item, like we have discussed that due to trade, demands for export increases, and to make those products, we are utilizing more and more domestic resources, which in turn helps encouraging our primary industries. Primary industries, those industries from which we basically get our raw material, like agriculture, like mining. So this is how the trade is helping in utilizing more domestic resources. Next, transfer of information technology. The flow of capital and information technology to developing countries from the developed countries increase the rate of economic development. Pakistan has imported information technology because of foreign trade, and this is very good for Pakistan. Next, production of value added products. it means that developing countries like Pakistan, they need to concentrate on producing more and more value-added products. For example, we know that if we are going to sell it out of the ready-made garments rather than providing raw material to the other country, ready-made garments will going to be sell it out more quickly as compared to the raw cotton. So that's why developing countries are encouraged to produce more and more value-added goods. Through this, we can earn foreign exchange. And foreign exchange earned through trade can be spent, which we have discussed that if we are going to just sell it out, we can have more and more foreign exchange, and this foreign exchange we can again can be utilized to import capital goods, which we can use in our industries, and it means that the chances for employment will also going to increase. So this is how we can able to get benefit from trade. Next, other basic terminologies from this topic, trade and commerce, they are, which we are going to discuss. Number one, balance of trade. What do you mean by balance of trade? Balance of trade is basically the difference between the value of exports and imports of goods only during a given period of time. It keeps the record of the visible items only. It means that how much items have been exported, how much items have been imported. It does not keep the record of the transaction. It only keeps a record of the items. Visible items means items which we can able to see, which we can able to touch. If the country imports more, it means that it is facing a trade deficit. And if the country is exporting more, it means that that particular country is facing trade surplus. If we look the Pakistan imports and exports bar graph for the last 5 years, we can clearly see that Pakistan is having more import items than export items from 2015 to 2020. It means if we talk about the balance of trade, Pakistan was facing trade deficit. Pakistan was facing negative balance of trade. So what are the reasons for having a negative balance of trade? Simple. When our imports get much as compared to our export, obviously it will cause a negative balance of trade. According to the research paper IBA, Pakistan is facing a trade deficit since 1947 except for 3 years. Like in 1947 till 48, Pakistan was facing the trade surplus with rupees 125 millions, and the reason was a high amount of export has been done during this period. Then the trade surplus of Pakistan in 1950 to 51 was rupees 176 million, and the reason was the excess of export of cotton and jute from East Pakistan. At that time, there was only one Pakistan comprising of two wings, East Pakistan and West Pakistan. So there was much export of cotton and jute was happening at that time. So that is why Pakistan can able to generate more and more revenue in 1950 to 1951. Next, in 1971, the amount of surplus in 1972 was rupees 124 million. And the reason was that there was a devaluation of the currency from 4.762 rupees 11 per dollar. Wow, what a great change. Apart from this, we can say that Pakistan was facing trade deficit. Apart from these 3 years, Pakistan is continuously facing a trade deficit. Pakistan is majorly an agriculture-based country with a major export of rice and raw cotton. The major reason for the trade deficit in Pakistan is that the high amount of food grains and food items are being imported due to the mounting population, as the population of Pakistan is too much high. And in order to feed all of the people of Pakistan, Pakistan had imported food items so that it can able to feed the population. Another reason for the deficit is the reduction in foreign investment because of the terrorist activities and worsening law and order situation in Pakistan. And along with the foreign investors, the law and order situation and political instability are discouraging local investors too. Apart from this, there is a depreciation of our currency rupee against the foreign dollars. Like if we wanted to take and buy any product, as our Pakistan currency rate is too much low as compared to the dollars, to compare to the euros, compared to the pounds. So we need to pay more and more Pakistani currency in order to get that particular product. And because of this, there is a negative balance of trade in Pakistan. Next, trade embargoes have been imposed by few countries. Trade embargoes mean that certain products have been banned from Pakistan, which the other countries are not going to buy it. And the main reason is child labor. They are having the issue of child labor. They are thinking that Pakistan are utilizing their children for making of this product. So that's why they are not going to buy that particular product. And all of this in turn creating the negative balance of trade in Pakistan. What are the effects of the negative balance of trade on the national economy? So let's see the effects. Number one, because of this, higher taxation occurs, which limits the purchasing power of the consumer, resulting in lower demand and less production. Obviously, when there is a negative balance of trade, the taxes rate will going to be increased. And when the taxes rate will going to be increased, it means that the purchasing power of the people will going to be reduced. We cannot able to buy any product from the local market even if we find it out that the tax on the particular product is too much high. Next, in order to, we can say, in order to improve the balance of the trade, it has to be filled by taking loans or foreign economic assistance, which increases debt. Obviously, we are largely depending over the loans and foreign exchange because we are having a trade deficit. We cannot able to produce more and more export items. So what we are doing in order to fulfill the basic requirements of the country, we are taking loans. And it is not only helping us out, but only putting us a more burden to pay the tax. Next, GDP and GNP reduce and lack of foreign exchange and assets or development projects in Pakistan will reduce. Obviously, when we don't have any income, we cannot able to generate the revenue in Pakistan. So it means we cannot able to get the foreign exchange with from other countries. It means whatever the development projects have been started in Pakistan, we need to stop it because it needs investment. And when we are shortage of investment, how can we able to run that particular project? And this will also ultimately going to impact over the employment rate of Pakistan as well. Trade embargoes, like I have discussed, the trade embargoes means the restriction of certain products, export products, because they have the issue majorly they are having the issue of the child labor. So what will happen if there will be continuous trade embargoes? In case of non-payment of loans, obviously there will be a trade deficit. We cannot able to trade with other countries. We cannot able to pay the loans which we have taken in order to fulfill the requirements of the country. So what will happen? We don't have any income. We cannot able to start any development projects in Pakistan, and all the business and commercial activities obviously will going to be slowed down. Next, balance of trade we have discussed. Now the next topic is balance of payment. What do you mean by balance of payment? In balance of trade, keep this thing in mind that we keep the records of the visible items only, like how much items have been exported and imported from Pakistan. But in balance of trade, in balance of payment, we just not keep the records of the visible items, but also we keep the record of the invisible items as well. The services which are involved in transporting of those materials from one place to another. So this is known as the balance of payment. Next, what are the reasons for having the negative balance of payment in Pakistan? Pakistan has always had a negative balance of payment because the value of its import exceeds than its import. Yes, it's right. our value of imports are always increased. Our imports of capital goods, we are having imports of capital good. We are importing food items. For example, sometimes it happens that we cannot able to grow wheat and other food items because of bad condition, weather condition, or we are not having enough seeds of that particular food item being planted. So what we do, we usually import it from the other countries. And apart from it, we are also importing capital goods in order to utilize those capital goods in the industry and to produce export items. But unfortunately, the importing of capital goods is much more higher than the exporting rate. Another reason is that importing of the luxury item, and this is also creating a burden on Pakistan. Next, trade embargoes, trade barriers, exports of non-cotton products have increasingly faced trade barriers. The reason, child labor issue, like we have discussed, that apart from the cotton products, whatever products produced by Pakistan, some countries are not going to buy it from us, and they are just giving the issue of child labor. Next, the same which we have discussed right now, the same topic which we have discussed, the food items, that we are importing food items. Pakistan is heavily dependent on the export of the few items only, like cotton, rice, leather products, food goods, carpets, and rugs. Sometimes it happens that unfavorable weather conditions have occurred, as a result of which we cannot able to export cotton and rice. So it will again going to affect the export item. And same goes for the food items, that sometimes we cannot able to produce particular crop at time. So we need to import from other countries. Capital goods, which I have talked about, that Pakistan is importing capital goods for the industries, which is not good. Our import items are higher as compared to the export items, which is also creating a negative balance of payment in Pakistan. Pakistan also is facing a lack of quality control. Like whatever the products Pakistan is producing is not of high quality, as a result of which our products cannot able to compete in a highly competitive world market. And secondly, Pakistan does not belong to any of the major regional organization which will going to support Pakistan to compete with other countries. We are not having any supporters which are going to introduce us to the international market. So these are some of the reasons that are adversely affecting our balance of payment. But what measures to be taken to correct the negative balance of payment? So the answer is by increasing export, by reducing imports. Like balance of payment can be corrected by decreasing imports. At present, consumer goods account for 14% of the total import bill. Most of the consumer goods are just luxury items, and some could easily be manufactured in Pakistan. Like instead of buying from other country, what could we do? We can start producing in Pakistan. The reduction in import of consumer goods and industrial raw material can greatly reduce the deficit gap. Obviously, if we start producing that product which we are importing from other countries, edible items, or the product consumer as any other consumer good which we are purchasing, instead of purchasing from other countries, what we started manufacturing in Pakistan and start purchasing it, it will definitely going to reduce the negative balance of payment. Also, reduction in imports related to the tertiary sectors. It means tertiary sectors like it includes banking, insurance, education, and health. In Pakistan, there is a trend that if we are going to hire skilled personnel from other countries, we can able to produce best quality products. And for hiring them, obviously, we need to give them high salaries. We need to pay them high salaries, which is really creating a burden over the economy of Pakistan. The solution is that we should start giving training to our own people, so that we should give them the chance to work in our tertiary sectors. Next, also, we should start searching new international markets for export. We should have a good relation with other countries, and then we should have after having a good relation, we should start exploring those markets, international markets, that what products could be easily sold in those areas. So this is how we can increase the negative balance of payment of Pakistan. And how to increase export? Now that's a good question. We can increase export by exporting more and more value-added products rather than the raw material, by encouraging our cottage and small-scale industries to produce more and more items so that we can able to just sell it out to other countries. And this in turn, this cottage and small-scale industries in turn will going to boost up our primary industry. Also, we should make efforts to increase the variety of export items. We should start reducing taxes. We should start encouraging export agencies like Export Promotion Bureau, and whose function is to organize export activities. We should start having the strict quality control measures should be taken so that we can able to produce good standard of good standard quality, good standard goods for exporting things. Acha, export processing zones have been set up in different parts of the country, and their basic function is to promote the setting of an industry to produce good for export. It means that export processing zones are those areas which have the license from the government that they can able to consume goods from the other countries, capital goods. They can able to import capital goods and then utilize those capital goods in industries where they are set up in Pakistan, different areas of Pakistan, like in Landi, like in Sialkot, like in Risalpur, and there are other 13 more. And over there, they manufacture the products and then they sell it out to the other countries. So these are the some of the ways through which we can able to increase our export. Now, what's the difference between balance of trade and balance of payment? Simple. Balance of trade basically deals with the export and imports of the visible items only, and it does not include any services. That what services are involved in the exchanging of these goods, imports and export items. Whereas in balance of payment, we just not talk about the export and imports of goods, but also it involves the check and balance of the services also. Okay? So this was the basic difference between balance of trade and balance of payment. So the main purpose of the balance of trade is to deal with the net profit and loss of the country, that how much country had gained the profit or how much country faced the loss by importing and exporting of the visible items. Visible item means those items which you can able to see, which we can able to touch, like cars, like ready-made garments, etc. Whereas the main purpose of the balance of payment is to deal with the proper accounting of the transaction, that how much transaction has been made while importing and exporting of items involved in balance of payment. Now the next topic is, what do you mean by foreign exchange? Foreign exchange means basically that if we are exporting our item to other countries, in return we get their currency. It's known as the foreign exchange. So how Pakistan can increase foreign exchange? Simple. The first answer is through trading. If we start trading with the other countries, we can earn foreign exchange. But how Pakistan can increase foreign exchange from trading? Let's see. Obviously, by increasing our exports. If we start increasing our exports more and more rather than import, we can able to earn foreign exchange. Next, we should have a trade relation with new countries so that we can able to find it out that which item we can able to export more. We should send our trade delegations to explore new markets for the Pakistani goods. Also, Pakistan needs to participate in the trade fair in foreign countries so that it can introduce her goods to the foreign buyers. Like these days, so there are many brands who have been introduced in different parts of the world, and many people around the world are basically liking them, and they are actually consuming those items. Apart from trade, another way that Pakistan can earn foreign exchange by developing and improving their tourist industries, and through remittance, like by supplying manpowers to the developing countries, and these overseas Pakistani workers send their money to their home using different ways like Western Union or through banking system. And in this way, Pakistan is getting foreign exchange. Now the last question arises, why does Pakistan needs to increase its foreign exchange? So the answer is simple. So that Pakistan could able to pay for the imports which are greater in value as compared to our export. Pakistan has been experiencing a negative balance of trade since 1947, except those 3 years which we have discussed in the previous slides. So it means that the value of our imports is higher than the value of export. The result is a trade deficit, which is met with the help of the loans from the World Bank or other resources. And in order to minimize the trade deficit, Pakistan needs to earn more and more foreign exchange. So thank you so much. Hope that you have understand all these terminologies well. If still you have got some queries, you can ask me the question. We can discuss your queries in the next video. So that's for today. Thank you so much. Take care. Goodbye.